All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared. It is February 10th. Good morning, everybody, 2022. And welcome to another Engineering the Markets. Is anticipating Jared. It is February 10th. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to and the market is anticipating seeing multiple cycles. Good morning, everybody. CPI data released into the market. And the market is had some interesting seeing multiple cycles. Good morning, everybody. Data released and oftentimes some things to monitor for the rest of the week are going to be some of the responses across different asset classes. More notably, the thing that's been in focus most of the week has been what is the 10-year interest rate doing, and are we about to see 2% on this particular index? So for those unfamiliar, the TNX is a way to measure the 10-year interest rate. And this particular index so far is in sort of a technical breakout mode where we're seeing higher highs and higher lows, nice clear uptrend if you're looking at this from a relative pricing perspective. And so far, the market seems to be on edge as to what is the effect of the tech sector and sort of relative growth companies if we do see 2% interest rates. We also have our 10-year notes, which are teetering towards the lower bound of their most recent lows, certainly anticipating lower lows at this point, which will be the trigger for the TNX to rise up to 2%. So market overall is awaiting this information. We're going to be seeing what sort of initial response the market has. Keep a close eye on what the bond market does in response to this. Not so much a knee-jerk reaction, but more so what is the general trend on the day. For example, if you're monitoring something like TLT, are we starting to make new lows relative to the past couple days of trade? And if that does occur, what sort of, I would say, momentum or just continuation force does this market have in regards to that data being released and the effects that it can have on the equity market? So overall, we've been discussing this week different correlations in the market. I did want to cover a bit about yield curve. Unfortunately, that did not come to fruition in time. Had a little bit of a delay this morning, so I apologize for that. So we will sort of do sort of a half and half session today. I'll open the floor for any tickers or questions that y'all may have. And then the usual order of operation, I'll start with the BBT chat first, and then I'll move over to YouTube for any additional information. So marketplace is awaiting this information. Let's take a look at how yesterday performed. If you recall, yesterday there was sort of a main thesis we spent some time on, which was the idea of a gap fill. This market is rarely going to provide these structures. So when they do occur and they remain open, it's worth paying attention to them. And usually these provide trade opportunities when we start to see the right signals. Now, as we can see, the market did accomplish its gap fill thesis yesterday. We saw that nice sort of pre-market uptrend leading us pretty much 2/3 of the way to the gap fill itself, along with the eventual completion of the gap fill near the price of 457.35, which was our gap fill target. And on a more sort of refined note, we can actually see the type of price action the market had yesterday. Wasn't necessarily the most aggressive uptrend, but we were continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. We saw a little bit of morning volatility in the NASDAQ, a little bit of a bearish channel. If you're able to observe how the QQQ traded in the first 30 minutes to an hour, you should be able to notice that structure. And once that channel resolved bullish, the market obviously was able to push higher in relative tech type companies. And then the S&P had a little bit of a more diversified strength on yesterday's session. For example, something like a heat map will show you while the market as a whole was relatively strong on yesterday, we had just a general bullish lean. There was some relative strength in financials early on. We saw some continued strength in healthcare, and then industrials and materials got a little bit of an additional boost with some of the anticipated inflation data coming out today. So these provided a little bit of a headwind, and then once information technology was able to catch up, the market certainly pushed towards that gap fill thesis. Now, I should kind of clarify the gap fill theory and sort of playing towards it is not necessarily one that is built for, I would say, the most bullish or bearish sort of posturing. A lot of people will sort of think you're in a gap, you know, let's say buy calls, buy puts. That's not necessarily how the market responds to fill the gap most times. It's actually, while a decent trading void, it can be somewhat of a challenge to change the sentiments. You're trying to repair something that the market placed for a particular reason. But in doing so, and especially the response afterward, sort of the counter response across the gap, these are all targets for something that doesn't necessarily have a time-based, I would say, cap placed upon it. So for an option trader who was maybe looking to take advantage of this gap, instead of thinking just straight out calls or puts, obviously looking for the full gap fill, you might have thought something like a call vertical, which simply says, I know where the market should be headed, and I know relative to where it's entering the sort of range that I'm playing in. I'm obviously looking for that gap high, but I don't expect the market to go much further. That tends to be a bit of a resistance point for the short term. And as an option trader, you can take something like a call vertical and massage those strikes to fit within that gap range and to mature once you hit the gap close or sort of the higher low of the gap fill itself. So market did a great job with this particular trade. We even got a bit of a short inside of the gap return strategy. Obviously, the market was able to recover, so it might have been sort of a one partial or maybe just a position to trade inside of the intraday time frame. Now, when we look at the NASDAQ has not completed this particular activity. We still have a little bit of an open gap sitting above us, and this open gap is closed as soon as we hit 368.49, which is the close of the February 2nd candle. So for the NASDAQ's purpose, and also just showing some of this bearish channel trading that occurred in the morning session, this should be kind of a bread and butter pattern observation for a lot of intraday traders. But once we got out of this bearish channel, we actually broke and back tested quite nicely and then went pretty much only up from that point on. The market here certainly still advertising itself as a bit of relative weakness. And I think for today with the CPI data, the response in tech is going to facilitate either the remainder of our gap fill or a potentially very volatile downside session if the market is responding to a rising interest rate in something like the TNX. So I'm definitely focusing in on what tech is doing today. I think whatever the core response is from our large market cap tech stocks is basically going to drive the rest of the market for sort of a short-term thesis. And that type of play, I want to await to see what the general sentiment is from the CPI report. Are we doing nothing? Is it all in line? Was it coming in really hot and therefore the market might see a little bit of risk in these particular names? Or are we coming in a little colder than expectation, but does the market, once again, the response versus the expectation, is the market still trying to price in lower prices for our tech sector, which, as we know, is a big component of the S&P. Last but not least, I didn't cover IWM yesterday. Clear cup and handle breakout, so far so good. Really just looking for topside targets, bit of a technical structure here. So you would look at something like a measured move for a potential topside target. And just keeping in mind, same theory as before, we want to watch out for our back test of the previous trading range. This should be a very clear and clean resistance, but we haven't tested it yet. So ultimately, until we get there, we won't really know what the market's response is. It is something to avoid trading heavily into. It tends to be a poor risk location for longs. And that's simply because until we can clear it and then maybe reestablish ourselves on top of it from an elevated position, this trading range is acting as a lot of overhead supply for the Russell. And this is going to be a challenge if the technicals line up the way they should. Okay, so, overall, don't have too much else for y'all. Volatility still on that tipping point. This would be another indicator of whether or not the market's responding bullish or fearful from the CPI. Think about if the VIX were to clear 20 and stay below it most of the session, that would certainly be sort of a risk on, or the idea that the market is sort of removing some of that volatile hedging. They're seeing less fear, there's less protection involved. And so far, the bidding inside of volatility, basically who's paying for the premium, has also gone down. So we're seeing a lot of reduction coming into this report, but now we need to wait and see what the report actually does. Do we get that final move and continue this downside trend, or does the market take an about face? And obviously with heightened volatility, we might get a bit more selling pressure in the short term. And other than that, I think we're all set. We've talked about energy a bit this week. Metals are kind of in that holding pattern. I haven't talked about metals too much. I'm still looking at gold as a possible multi-month breakout. Gold is holding up quite well relative to some of the dollar strength. We're just looking at technicals here. We have a very clear retracement line. We have a clear support. So far, the market's sort of treading higher. We just want to watch out for what is often the case is a lot of shakeups as we start to move higher in this trend. You're often going to see things like more volatile sell swings, especially if you get some dollar volatility. And these are the ones that can knock out sort of early to the party traders, even though the particular market itself might still have a bit of a bullish lean. So gold and silver are in a similar position. Silver is still struggling with the 200. This did stop the most recent rally. This was one we observed a couple of weeks back as the dollar was getting into a more consolidative phase. Silver saw the same decline. So really it's just playing the back and forth motion. If you're a short-term trader, you want to play these probabilities. If you're a bit longer term focused, you might be looking at this as a possible buying opportunity. We're talking about sort of like clear support and resistance, but we need to break bullish first. We haven't really cleared any resistance yet. So keep that kind of risk in check and look for warning signs near supports. If this market is not bullish moving forward, then we should see a decline from the support. So that's pretty much it. Let's take some time and look at some tickers, and let's see who's first. So RFG, as always, loves looking at Meta and Tesla. Those are some names on everybody's watch list. So let's look at Meta. So the theme yesterday was Meta was looking for a bottom. You don't want to step in too early on a fresh low. You often want to look for the next risk level to kind of play your bounce theory off of. And from the perspective of the size of the decline, we were talking specifically about the monthly level that we were starting to hit. This is a multi-month sort of inflection level. This one in particular has set this level. Market dipped $2 below. When it comes to monthly levels, that's basically pennies. And we're seeing a bit of a rise so far in the Meta stock. From a daily perspective, this is an isolated pivot. It's a normal trading strategy to understand that if you have a clear trend and you're forming isolated pivot or pivots at the top or bottom of a potential trend that's about to change, a confirmation of a trade idea is to take a long or a short once you break that pivot. And specifically, if it's not a stopping point, it can actually be continuation on the trend, but at that point, you should already be inside of the dominant pullback trend. Let me show you all another example of when this happened. So let's look at Tesla, and let's look at these 2 days right here. Now, it's arguable to say that there was news, there was reason for the stock to stop moving up. This is a very, very aggressive and strong uptrend. But knowing where to put your stop if you're trying to short requires structure like this. And this is actually 2 days of isolated pivots. After which, of course, we saw some of the most volatile selling that we've seen in Tesla in quite a while. This was almost a, what was this? This was like a 10 or 11% drop in a day, 15%. People were definitely getting margin called during this day. You could tell by the price action how significant the spike lows were intraday. But look at how the daily established itself. And more notably, there's multiple theory here. This is isolated pivots. This right here is an exhaustion gap. It's the idea that the market had gone too far too fast, placed what's some people call island or just sort of isolated structures away from a gap. And then once you get the gap down, they sort of return back to the previous setup. That triggers the short. And obviously, if you were able to set this up correctly, you could have held almost to 800 points, at least from high to low. That, you know, that's the whole trading range that Tesla's been in. It's a very powerful signal, but it needs to trigger. And Facebook had it, or Meta had it yesterday. Now, normally what you can do for these is you can sell premium underneath, because it's really difficult to basically break these isolated pivots once they confirm in the other direction. So you sell premium underneath or above. That's sort of like your, I'm not super bullish yet, but I think the market has stopped selling. So you could sell something a bit more neutral, collect that hopefully elevated premium. And then of course, if the bounce comes into a confirmed bullish pattern, and this is not intraday, I'm talking like swing setup, maybe a double bottom, higher low, some dominant trend change, because the market has to reaccumulate here. We're not just necessarily going to see V bottoms every time. We might need to reaccumulate. If we can get a range going, and if we can break that range, that's where momentum to the bullish side can pick back up. And that's where you can see things like calls, call verticals, back ratios, whatever sort of debit strategy or just long shares you want to take. And, you know, RFG, we're looking at Facebook on the daily, but it's important to understand that this sets up the intraday. You know, I'm not necessarily long biased on Meta, but I was long biased yesterday because we broke the isolated pivot and we had an intraday reason to be long. We saw the market push into that gap fill. And even if you ignored the entire session, once this happened, once you got over your pivot high, it's off to the races. And by getting over, I mean get over it cleanly, start a trend, you know, start the market moving in your favor. So think, and on the intraday session, think like a swing trader, but trade like an intraday trader. If you have a good swing setup and the daily confirms it and you're able to get in, think like that, because those are some of your best plays. They set up trends. They set up larger time frame trends. So that's Meta. I still kind of agree that Tesla is in a bit of a chop zone. look at where we rejected yesterday. These levels were here 2 days prior. We talked about this high, these lows. We are starting to move above the swing high that formed off the low. So we're starting to break the equilibrium a bit, but we're still rejecting here. So these are just levels in play. Short up here, try and buy down here. If you can catch something in between, you need intraday signals. That's pretty much it. So Tesla, Cliff wanted, which we just did, and let's do Disney. So Disney, earnings play. Disney was pricing in about a $12 expected move. Let's see, sorry, we closed at 147, we're opening at 158. So the option market so far is pretty darn close. We did see a bit of an extended move above, but it's all about where we open, because if you played it in an option world, you can't really close your position until the market opens. So Disney is probably right on the edge of the expected move. We could see a little bit of a breakout. There's some consolidation here. The more likely scenario, unfortunately, is that this does fade over the rest of the day. And I know that it's kind of weird to see such a bullish move fade, but it is an earnings expected range, and markets often like to stay within them. So we're on the edge of it right now. We could easily just kind of teeter back down. But yesterday, and this is just noting what's working right now, look at this gap. This is a tradable void in price action. Look at this breakout. This is a cup and handle for a reversal. Low, moving all the way back up to a swing high, and then here we started to break out. So on Disney's intraday session, amidst all this earnings noise, you should have been thinking long, because we have a breakout. We have a fresh cup and handle breakout. It even pulled back to back test intraday. This is the buy point, basically. If you don't catch any of this, this is your buy point. And then it moved all the way back up to, it's not an exact gap fill as far as I can tell, but like the close here would matter, but it is the low of the candle. So it basically tried to fill most of that void. So to me, Disney was a great intraday yesterday, great opportunity, but for earnings, it's all about the expected move. And I'll do one more before going to YouTube. Hopefully I'm grabbing some names here. So people like PTON, so that kind of covers a few people. Let's look at how it traded yesterday. So I want to think about PTON as a resting candle yesterday, because it kind of was. It was a bit of an inside day. But from the posture of a pivot, this is still sort of advertising itself as bullish. This is a very strong, impulsive move to the upside. We pulled back, but we closed higher. So the market is still accepting a very powerful ignition candle's close. Just because we didn't break the high doesn't mean we aren't still posturing for higher prices. And as I start to look at these types of structures here, PTON to me still has the chance to make another run. We just want to watch out for what we know, which are key levels. We have a high into a low. This made a bounce, and then it made a, so there's a support area right here. We pushed, and now we're starting to trade somewhat mid-range, so it's a bit challenging on the mid-range side. Ideally, we'd like to see a push towards the high, another sort of pullback to kind of set us up better, and then a breakout if you really think that this one's going to keep going. On the daily, I would just watch swing highs. All of these are minor resistance. They're not range resistance. They're just a downtrend. So every time we swung up, we failed. You know, these are stopping points. They're not always the strongest resistance points, but they are levels. You want to watch every swing high as we move up this chain. And if we stop at some point, that's going to be our range for valuation. But I look at this volume and I say this move could easily push a bit more. You know, this doesn't have to stop on a dime. This could easily start trading in the 50s pretty soon. And what that means is, for the people looking at the option side, you kind of want to see where people are buying options. Are they starting to look at 50s? You know, is there a higher interest at higher prices? You know, there's a little bit of activity at these higher strikes. And I mean, you'll kind of see how we play off here, but this needs to kind of fill up with some activity. Okay, so I did PTON, which covered a few people on YouTube. Let me grab one off YouTube real quick. Let's see, start at the beginning. So SQ and MRNA. Let's do SQ real quick. This one's pretty straightforward. Watch 100. 100 is your price. You don't want to see a new low there. There's a reason you care about this level. It's because it's this swing high. It needs to hold. If you want this to stop, find a bottom here and then turn this trend around. We're doing a decent job at it so far. We're holding, but as I've mentioned before, on a very strong downtrend, as soon as you hit support, you can't necessarily just think all out bullish. You'll get reactions, daily, multi-day sort of bounces, but you can't just think that it's going to be bottom. You have to form an accumulation range first, something where the market says, I don't want to go lower, so I'll start buying. And big money will accumulate. Usually they'll kind of trick and trap you too near the low. You'll find these days. Look at this day right here where we barely breach all these lows. These are test candles. They're isolated pivot style too. If you wanted to be bullish SQ, you should have taken a long off of this high and see how far this goes. This is kind of your trigger right now. And what you're hoping for is to get above this high. Sorry. This is all technical in nature. I mean, there's no magic here. I'm just what's in front of me and what's the most likely scenario. Also monitor your volume. So that's SQ in a nutshell. MRNA, I would say be cautious with it. It looks like it's trying to bottom too, but the bounces have been worse than the market itself. Lack of interest probably in this space for now. We just had Pfizer earnings too, so kind of monitor some sympathy here. You know, Pfizer. Oh. Sorry about that. I had a little glitch in my my connection there. Can you all still hear me? Okay. Yeah, so monitor Pfizer. Monitor stocks that are similar. BNTX is going to be your most clear correlated stock. This one's actually starting to peak a little bit, but there's still bear flag potential here. So you want to negate, in order to stop the selling, you want to negate bearish patterns. If you're looking for bullish opportunities, negate a bearish pattern, because a lot of stocks have bearish setups that are trying to be negated. That's what you need. And you need to find strong support areas to take trades off of in anticipation for a possible reversal. Remember that these are just moments in time to take longs or to sell your short. Get some of the bounce, and then the hope is that it starts to negate the bearish sentiment. That's the hope. But you have to prove it. Nothing has been really proven yet except for these 1 or 2 day sort of buy-up candles. That's not enough. You could turn this around. It happened here. This looked great. Well, sorry, new low. So negate a bearish pattern. That'll be some of your signal. So CPI is about to come out. Stay tuned for pre-market prep. I'll let y'all all take off at this point. So have a great week. Talk to y'all next week and hopefully keep it green. Talk to y'all then.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Pre-Market Prep. I hope everyone is having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys are having really, really good. I had a good day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing very good, my friend. All right, guys, we got some numbers out. Norm, I'll let you talk about them now. So we see the market moving here, and
Yeah, we just had CPI data drop as we were flipping the switch to come on. I don't see your screen on in the room, Carlos.
yeah,
CPI and core CPI came in a little bit hotter than expected, and it's caused a big move down. I was worried about that this morning, this gap up this morning, especially in tech stocks with earnings and everything. So um, we'll just have to. Can you guys hear me, see me? Because my
yeah,
screen's frozen in the room. Okay, there we go.
yeah.
There
We
we
see you
go.
good. Hear you good.
Yeah, so that number is gonna disrupt things. The market's been waiting on it all week. We talked about some inside days earlier this week on the indices, and yesterday was a bit of an outlier. We started to see some risk on sentiment, but we're starting to give all that back right now. So let's see how the next half hour plays out. If we establish a downward trend here, it could be pretty strong.
Yep, it's gonna be interesting here, guys. We had a couple of earnings last night as well, man. So I know Disney, Uber, can't remember all the names, but I know we were in the chat room. Then we switched over to Ed's room. I see trades earnings as well, and we had some pretty good moves yesterday. We'll talk about them today, and some of these tickers are going to be on our list. We see Disney here, we see TWOO. So a lot of earnings play Uber. I'm not sure about Twitter if Twitter was on there yesterday, but they are gapping up nicely this morning as well. We got a couple of things gapping down that we'll get into also. Roblox I see here down 2.4 and some other names down quite a bit, 28, 25, 13, and 12. So very interesting day this morning. We'll definitely have a lot to go over. We're going to go ahead and look at some of the stuff from yesterday. We won't spend too much time on here, but we had a few things that traded decent. We had PTON yesterday again going for another beautiful run. If I show you the 5-minute chart here, we'll just go over some of the stuff that traded very decent. 5-minute chart here yesterday towards the end of the day had a nice pop here into the market close as well. Apple was extremely choppy, guys. You saw this yesterday. The market overall just kind of waiting. I think we're kind of waiting for these numbers, and as we see now, Apple is dropping obviously with the SPY, right? Meta actually had a pop into the close yesterday, so it did recover a little bit there. And Lyft, which had earnings, also traded very nice, guys. Nice, beautiful breakout here on Lyft yesterday. So again, a couple of really good plays. Some of them either really well or really, really choppy. It all depended on what you're watching yesterday, right? So that was a big part of whether you're going to end the day good or not is what did you have on your list. SPY continuing to react here, guys. A little bit of a drop. We're down about almost 1% here, recovering a little bit. We'll be keeping a close eye on that as we move forward. So let's take a look at our gappers list, guys, to see what we got going on here. We'll start with with what's gapping up this morning. TWLO. Oh, hold on a second. Let's link our trade ideas. 1 second. We'll make this link here. Here we go. Okay, perfect. So TWOO earnings last night, guys. And here you can see the reaction. A huge pop yesterday. Up this morning, 16%. Oh, decent volume for this type of company. They normally do not trade very well. They're not the best intraday trading stock. The few times we looked at this, it has been just on this earnings or any, I think they're gaming, right? Any gaming news. These guys have been on the ball here. So today, definitely want to keep an eye on them. We'll see how they trade. They can be very thin at times. So you got to get the volume for this to be really, really active. Um, D-Dog this morning up 12, almost 12%. Nice pop here early on this morning. Hasn't done much after that. It looks like they just released earnings pre-market here. I'm not a big fan of D-Dog though. I think they're
Yeah, it's a
extremely
tough one
light.
to trade.
Yeah, yeah.
You were talking
So
about Twilio. I was taking care of a couple other things.
yeah.
You were talking about that, right?
Yes, I was, yes.
Yeah, they had earnings last night. That could be a decent one. They are not easy to trade though. So
Yeah, yeah, that's my concern with them. They're not easy to trade. It could be very difficult. We'll have them
I
on
mean, it's
here
a dollar
for now.
spread at the moment,
Yeah.
and they're getting hit on the CPI data as well. So I'm curious to see what that does. But
Mm-hmm.
trade's pretty thin.
Absolutely agree with that. MQ here, guys. They're up 10%. Volume is a little bit all over the place right now. Um, Again, not a great trader neither. We'll have to see. I'm gonna keep it off my list. I know for sure when I get to Disney, Uber, and those tickers, I'm gonna want to have those instead of this one. So I'm gonna be a bit picky there. BTU for the most part, up 7.4, 350. We've seen this active last couple of days, aside from just today, what they had earnings pre-market. Yeah, earnings pre-market here on BTU. Again, I hope to find something better. Here's MAT.
We'll have much better today.
Yeah, absolutely. We just got to get to those down there. And I'm sure over in the chat, you guys have some good ones you're going to throw out to us. So we'll look forward to your suggestions there as well. Next, we had here MAT. This one, another one that's, again, they're gapping up today, but they're so difficult to trade. We know this because we've been around quite a bit in trying to trade these when they do become active. And there's just, for the way we trade, they're not great. Now, it all depends on how you trade, guys. So when you hear Norm and I say, they're not a great trading stock, we'll refer to
That's
specifically for the way we trade and our style, right? So just be mindful. We don't want nobody saying, well, I'm not going to trade this because Norman and Carlos says so. Just be mindful of that. Disney, let's get to that one this morning. So huge pop last night, guys, and this actually gave some people some opportunities here. Yeah, looks very, very good this morning. Very active, almost 1 million shares traded. Definitely want to keep this in play. Not the easiest stock to trade, I'll tell you that much. But today, they're definitely in play this morning.
Yeah, they had earnings. They're usually pretty good to trade when they've had earnings.
Yeah, exactly. Uber, guys, also another one that can be tough, but they had good earnings last night. Beautiful pop here. They're up 5% this morning. And we'll see as we continue to look at the SPY, how is the SPY is going to affect some of these stocks that had a good gap up yesterday, right? We're going to give some of that back today. We see Uber here sliding just a little bit, not a whole lot. Actually, no, not really. Pretty solid right now. It slid last night. Last night it fell off from the highs, but pretty stable right now for the most part. But Uber is one I would like to watch today. I think that can be a good one. Good volume right now, up almost 5%. All right, we'll stop here. What's going on with Twitter? Did Twitter have earnings last night or anything? No, pre-market earnings on Twitter today. So yeah, this is one that will be fun to watch. 4.3 million shares traded already. I do like that volume. We saw what has happened to some of the other social media tickers like Snap, right? Snap had a huge pop not so long ago. Pins as well. When they had earnings, they did a decent as well, giving some back today. We'll see what Twitter does here, guys. Up 3.2 with 4.3 million shares traded, which is great volume for them this morning. Let's see what's gapping down. TWOU down 30%. Huge drop for these guys here. The one concern is the volume they get is very, very light. This is a nice drop here, but man, you're barely trading any volume pre-market for the drop, right? I know you have 370, but for this drop, it's not a whole lot of volume. And if you look at the daily, you can see here their volume is very, very thin for the most part. Even on days where they move well, I mean, this is a 1450 to 16. That's a big move for a $16 stock, and you're doing it with like 2 million shares, right? So not great for us intraday traders. Maybe maybe today that could change. We'll see. Maybe. Hope we can bump that off of something better. VMEO this morning. Also down 25%. These two related. They look very Vimeo?
Vimeo? This is the video hosting service.
Oh,
what
okay,
were you saying? It looks like what?
No, it looked like TWOU,
no,
but
not at all.
They're different. Yeah. DCFC. This was active yesterday and the day before. Today they're giving some of that back, guys. Down 15%, 746,000. You do have shares for sure on this one.
Hamish just got through something interesting in there, saying Fed futures now priced in 100 basis point rate hikes by July. That's a full percent in the next 4 months.
Yeah.
That would be nuts. That would mean, my guess is 250 basis point hikes March and whatever their meeting is at March, and then maybe skip a meeting and then another 50. I don't know. They'll freak out the markets if they do that.
Yeah, that seems a little, not a little. That seems very aggressive.
So Dan's asking what overall that means. Well, the Fed tries to control the economy. They're dual mandate, which is full employment and essentially control inflation. Their targets tend to be around 2%. We're a lot hotter than that right now. By raising the interest rate and a couple QE, but we won't get into that. Raising the interest rate is one of their main tools of being able to either slow the economy or try to speed up the economy if you're in a recession. Right now, with inflation running so hot, running hotter than expected, more than expected, price increases are happening faster than people want. That means they'll likely be forced into a position where they have to raise interest rates faster to cool off the economy and help inflation chill out.
Yep. Guys, next one on this list here, CGEN. No good. I don't see no volume on this one. Down 16%, but that's about it. DCFC, we're actually looking at this one. Guys, treat this like a low flow. You have shares for short on this. I mean, this thing was up a couple of dollars here yesterday. I believe, I don't recall if I think Brian did touched on this one last night, yesterday morning. Really? Yeah, I think he even mentioned it. I wasn't listening closely when he called it out. But I think he might have dabbled in this a little bit. But either way, be very careful, guys. It is the flow on this thing. It's 150 million. Don't be fooled by that. This thing is moving like a low flow. If you can see now, the height of this is 1580. We're now slamming down towards $13, right? So it shows you what range this thing has. It can move quite a bit. Here is Goose, and Goose is a stock that I don't trade. For me, it hasn't been great. I think it's a horrible intraday trading stock, at least for the way I trade. Down 14% this morning. If you like this one, put it on your list. Looks like it is in play. I won't be putting on my list, and I also won't be putting on Bucket. Bucket is another one that I'm not a big fan of neither. So we'll stop here. I know you guys have some stuff to throw at us that we can go over. But before we do that, Norm, anything you like on your end?
No, I'm not going to be able to trade today. I've got some stuff going on, so I'll throw it to the room and let you guys. I mean, I think you can pick a lot of these high flyers, especially stuff. I mean, if I were going to be building a watch list for myself this morning after that CPI data, and this could change, but I'd be looking at some of the stuff that's really popped in the growth sector this morning. Yeah, some of the tech names and such that have kind of got risk on. And see what happens to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see some of you guys are throwing out those names already, so we'll take a look at those. Let's start here with Chambers 24. Yeah, D-Dog, we looked at this one earlier. Again, to me, it is a horrible trading stock. Norm called out the spread as well. I know it's pre-market and the spread will get better, but it doesn't get better by much. So be careful on this one if you are going to be trading this and at the market open. Again, you got this one pop here moving sideways here. You got some volume, 1 million. Just be mindful of the way this thing trades. It can be very choppy at times. AMD looks nice. Let's take a look. Jason, AMD. Yeah, I think kind of like what Norm mentioned, right? AMD, Apple, these what's going on if I could type? Here we go.
PTON for sure.
Yeah, so AMD, Apple. Yeah, I think you can definitely keep this on the list. I don't want to fill it up completely with all tech. But we have Apple, we have AMD, I have Uber on here. PTON, you mentioned, Norm. I think that's another one that's been, again, the last couple of days, guys, moving very, very well. Even yesterday, another nice run and very clean too. If you look at this intraday action, PTON, I think will be great to watch today. See how that plays out. What else we have here? Yeah, banks, JP Morgan. Let's take a look at that one.
Those are going to be those with rising interest rates benefit banks.
I'm gonna put JP Morgan here. Let's see what West Fargo is doing. They're probably all doing the same thing. I like the cleanliness of West Fargo. I like the daily on this and how clean this is. So most likely gonna be putting West Fargo on my list. If that's a bank I would like to watch here. 2 million shares traded, up 1% right now. I think that's looking very well. But you can look at anyone, guys. JP Morgan, Bank of America, they're all going to be probably in play. Just want to make sure in chat. I think did it freeze on me? No. Oh, we're good? Okay, excellent. All right.
No, but somebody came on the camera for some reason. I don't know who that was.
Is that what it
now
was?
It's got a black box up there.
Oh, okay, that's what it is.
I think it's Jared.
All right, BHP this morning. What we got going on here? BHP. Yeah, I think these guys, I think they're foreign, man. I don't know, but we've seen them before.
Yes,
They don't
it is
trade very well.
foreign.
Yeah,
It
right.
trades like garbage.
Yeah, I remember the ticker. It is not a great one. So Brian, we're gonna skip on down for now. I think today you're gonna have some pretty good stuff here. Snap is definitely one to watch, man. They've been moving very well the last couple of days. Huge gap up here. Been trying to hold. Good day yesterday as well, man. This thing ran. I don't know if you guys saw it, but this thing ran quite a bit yesterday, man. This thing went from the lows of 37 all the way up to 38. Struggled here for a little bit and then shot up towards the second half of the day, all the way to 40 and then some. So I think Snap is interesting, dropping here a little bit, but I definitely like Snap today, and we'll fine tune this list as we move forward. Twitter, we have on deck. Yeah, we have Twitter. Disney, we have Buck is no good for us here. Heading down, what do we have here? DCFC. Yeah, I have that one, Amir, as a low flow, not a low flow, riskier stock here because you got to be very careful with that one. It can move quite a bit. Lyft, I have Uber today. I think Uber is where the action is going to be at. But if we look at Lyft, what's Lyft doing today? Traded well yesterday. Had a nice
Nothing.
little pop, but nothing going on today. I think Uber's the one to watch this morning. Again, they're very choppy here, but they did had good earnings last night and with a great pop. We'll see how this is going to play out today, especially with the numbers.
Keep in mind on Uber that $45 level has been insanely strong. That was the IPO price. That was the price it opened at originally, I believe.
Yeah, which price that was, Norm?
Yeah, 45.
45. Yeah, right in this area here. Yeah. We'll see how that's gonna play out for them. They actually went right below that. They didn't get to it last night, right? Did they? No, almost got to it. And you can see the rejection happened right at 44, slamming back down. They didn't never recover after that. So that I think that's what the action is at, guys. Uber, not Lyft today. PTEN, which is this one? Or did you mean PTON? PTEN. I hope you meant PTON because this one, Patterson UTI Energy, is not doing anything. So if you did mean PTON, it is already on here, guys. I think this will be a good one today as well, John. And all right, we'll stop here. Let's see what our friends over on YouTube have this morning. JH, Bank of America. Yes, I have West Fargo, which I like. I like the daily on this one much better. It just seems so clean, like compared to like a JP Morgan, compared to like a Bank of America, right? I think WFC looks cleaner for some reason for me. So I like that one. But you can watch either one. I think they're all going to move pretty much the same this morning. Snow. No. This is no good. Man, this is a dangerous stock. Be very, very careful. You're going to trade this thing today. Just be careful. Whatever your strategy is, be careful on that. Yes, has no volume yet, but if you look at the daily, they barely get volume. And just look at the way these candles are forming. I don't like how much wicks you have in certain times here. And that type of volume at this price tag could signify a lot of gappy action with the spread. So just be careful.
Snow is VV said snow is tricky as AF. AF, and
Yes,
it is 100%.
Yeah, and AF is not a ticker, so don't go looking that up. SQ, my friends.
It should be.
SQ here. Yeah, I think SQ is dropping a bit, down 3.1, 196,000. Yeah, I think it could be interesting as well. I just think I have stuff that looks better on my list than SQ this morning. So I'm going to keep that one off for now. TWOO we do have on the list here. I might have had the list scrolled up here. But yeah, we do have TWOO. They're up 14% this morning. Again, huge pop here. We just got to be careful with the spread when the market opens. But I think this is definitely in play. Should be fun. Just be aware of the number of shares you're taking on that thing because you do not need to take a lot when a stock is moving, $9 from just 30 minutes ago, right? So you do not need to take a whole lot of shares on that. Be very, very careful. Really should be on my risky pile, that one there. Here is Meta. Meta this morning dropping down a 1.5. Yeah, this is another one to watch here. It's funny. I was thinking if Meta falls apart, right? FB, and again, just my thoughts. What will happen to FANG? Will we call it ANG now? Like, will we drop Facebook off the FANG stocks? What will we do there?
Add AF.
That out. Yes, absolutely. FB here, guys, definitely in play. Nice drop this morning, 1.6 volume increasing. We'll add that on there. And again, I know I have a lot of my main list, but we're going to fine tune this this morning, especially as we continue to look at how the SPY and the overall market is reacting. That is a SPY there for you. Here are the Qs. Let's take a look at that. Qs this morning also dropping quite a bit.
So yeah, they're going to be more affected than anything.
Yeah. Guys, today's going to be one of those days where it's going to be a lot in play. We don't got to go crazy. You could actually look at some of the stocks you've been trading the last couple of weeks that's been very active, as Norm mentioned, and you could build an amazing watch list like that. So your watch list could look completely different than mine. So you could have an amazing list together there. So you got to be picky on as to what you're going to watch, what you like, and stuff like that, right? So just keep that in mind.
We got the VIX up 8% this morning. With volatility rising like that, most important thing is to size appropriately so that you're not getting slammed if you miss a trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I don't mean miss a trade by not take it. I mean like mess up a trade.
Right. Find yourself on the wrong side of things. You're not losing your shirt. So. All right, guys, let's get to announcements. Let's do that. Let's see what's coming up here for next week.
And somebody's asking if there's a way to trade the VIX. You cannot trade the VIX itself, but they have ETFs that mirror the VIX. Both you got VIX, you got UVXY and such. You can take a peek at those. VXX is the not levered product. UVXY is the levered product.
Be careful, guys, on those. They can move very aggressively. All right, guys, let's get over to community events and announcements. What's coming up next week, and then we'll come back and fine tune this list.
All right, guys, don't forget every Monday you've got onboarding with Carlos, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Immediately following that, you've got the technology classes. Next week is Kyle. He's going to be doing part 2 of his advanced hotkeys for risk management. Those have been essential to some people to help their trading, stick to losses and such, to stops and such. Tape reading. Eamon's ABCD webinar is posted. Thor's tape reading webinar, 8 p.m. next Tuesday. I'm sure that'll be well attended. Creda, this is Wednesday, right? Am I losing my mind? No, this is Thursday. Creda's webinar was last night. Will be posted very soon if it's not already. And then next Wednesday, the normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, you got Mike going to be talking about probabilities, very important aspect psychologically in trading as well. Thursday, speaking of Thursday, it's Mentorship Thursday, 11 a.m. Andrew, 4 p.m. It says 4:30, but if you get there early, my guess is you're going to be able to see Ed trade, do some after hours trades, which he is just a badass at. You've got some okay tickers after the bell today. He'll be able to take advantage of. And then at 4:30, he starts the actual lesson that he'll be talking about in mentorship that week. And then Thor, 8 p.m. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to go to stocktradingsimulator.com where you can try our free web-based replay simulator. You do not have to log in or anything like that. You don't have to put any info in. You just go there and you can trade it. We're still tweaking it, improving it, making it better. It's a fairly new product. If you'd like to, you can put your email in at the bottom to receive homework assignments a couple times a week. We don't sell that list or anything like that, so don't worry about getting spammed by everybody. If you are watching on YouTube and you would like to try out the chat room, you can go to bearbulltraders.com, scroll down about halfway down the page. You'll see that test drive now button. If you click that, fill it out, use the promo code premarket24, you'll get a discount. It bills you one time. It's not a recurring payment, after which 7 days it will cancel, and you would have to choose another membership category if you would like to continue on. And speaking of, right now we have the Valentine's promotion going on, 50% off the annual membership. Lovers 50 is the promo code for that.
All right, Norm, thank you very much, guys. All right, let's take a look at our list here and see what we got going on, starting with TWLO. Again, definitely in play this morning. We'd like to keep an eye on that one. We have Disney earnings last night. We'll see how this is going to play out. Great volume right now, trying to hold here. A little bit of a drop, but not much given what the SPY is doing at the moment. Uber holding here as well. Earnings last night, 4.8, good volume. Twitter earnings this morning, and their pre-market action has been pretty nice, as you can see here. Great price action. They're up 1.8, although they were up nice earlier on, and even just a couple of minutes ago, they were up pretty nice here at 40.75. So looking to see what Twitter's going to do here this morning. The volume is definitely there for them to take advantage of. And if you want to see what the SPY looks like, just look at Apple. Apple pretty much doing whatever the SPY is doing right now, and the Qs. PTON dropping a little bit, man. These all look good. We're gonna fine tune this. WFC, as you know, the banks will be going the other direction with that type of news. And Snap here. Yeah, let's get picky now. So I have Apple. I have Facebook's pretty much doing what Apple's doing here, right? So I'm just gonna keep Apple. I'm gonna put Facebook as a or Meta as a secondary for today. So we'll move that down. Definitely in play though. They got good volume, and it's gonna be fun to see what Meta does here, especially after the drop they had, right? So they had a drop there yesterday. They actually pushed up pretty nice here. We'll definitely be watching Meta for the coming weeks. That's not going to be going away off our watch list, at least as a secondary like we are doing today. Today is, it's a little bit different because we have a lot of tickers that are moving with volume. So TWO stays, Disney can stay here as well, and Uber, all with all these three earnings last night, and Twitter this morning. That's good. And I have Apple, which is pretty much doing with the SPY. That's good as well. PTON, I think PTON would be great to watch. They had a beautiful run the last 2 days. They gapped down last night. It looked weak. I mean, I was calling this out for a possible short here, man, and I got stopped out twice. It did not work out, but I wish I would have went long because it turned out to be an amazing long after that. So it's great support happening there, and it just went real nice towards the upside there on PTON. So let's see what it does today. Giving some back this morning, down 3.1, but I think their trading has been really nice in the intraday. And aside from that, yesterday was a lot cleaner than the day before. Day before was just wild, very difficult to trade. WFC here, you know what? Compared to everything else, I know the banking stocks are in play, but compared to everything else that I see here, I think I'm gonna put them as a possible, just because I need to get this list down to the number I need, which is going to be 6 stocks, right? Right now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So one too many, but I gotta say I do like all of these right now. So we'll do levels for these, and then we can always drop something off later, depending how things continue to develop. Secondary list, we have WFC, Meta, we have JP Morgan, so a couple of bank tickers here. We have AMD, we're pretty much doing what the SPY Qs are doing there. And we have TWOU. And which one looks better? Actually, AMD has a lot more volume this morning than Apple does, and looking pretty good. So either one of these will work pretty nice here. DCFC is our risky stock of the day. This thing is dropping 17% right now. We do have shares for short. Be very, very careful on this. I mean, the highs of this just at 7 was at 15, where we lost a couple of dollars here. We're down at 13. So almost a $3 loss there. So it just kind of tells you how much this is moving, how much movement there is in here. Don't go crazy loading up the boat on this stuff, right? Very mindful of that. So as we do this, let's get some levels in place, guys. Let's get ready for our trading day here. So TWLO, let's zoom in here. Low of our pre-market. I like where this level is here. 230.25, right? So that's the low, pretty close to the low of the pre-market, but I like it here because you have a couple of days using this as support and resistance right in here. So I want to have that mark down there. Towards the top, guys, we do have the high of the pre-market over at 245. Above that, we have a level here. This looks good as well. If you draw a line right on there, you can see the support you're getting there around 260, probably because that's a whole dollar number, right? So we'll throw a level there as well. And then above that, we have some levels from the past that still look pretty good. Again, I don't think this thing is going to get up there. 260, 287, and 304. I don't think that's going to happen, but just in case, we're ready. Now, towards the bottom, which looks like more of a possibility, we do have something at 217. So 217, we have a nice big drop there. Between 230 now and 217, I don't see anything great as far as levels. You maybe have a minor level right in here, a couple of days bouncing off of that, but I don't see anything, at least from December to now, that's worth putting on here. What you can do here, if you on your time, you can come in here and look at this date. You can go back there and see where you find an area of consolidation. Usually there might be a good area of consolidation there that you can put a level on, but for the most part, I'm going to leave what I have here for now. So that's good on TWLO. Let's take a look at Disney. Disney, very active this morning, very active last night. This thing had a beautiful, beautiful pop here. Look at the pullback, and I'm sure many of you took this thing long here for the retest of the highs there. So that was very nice there. This morning, they're not doing a whole lot, but I expect them to move. I don't expect them to stay like this in this choppy situation. Disney is NYSE stocks, so usually NYSE stocks, their pre-market action is not great. Like the Qs is, right? If you look at an Apple, if you look at AMD, these guys are moving very well, heavy volume in the pre-market. NYSE stocks, they tend not to do that. Not saying that that doesn't happen, but they tend not to do that. So some levels here, 159.16.25, 159.25, high of the pre-market, 156.50 is your low of your pre-market, and you have this 152 here, which is a great area of resistance here for these 4 days. A couple of days in here, this is more of an area because you did get above that, and then you got some stuff over here, so a little bit of support happening there. So that 152 has a lot of action around it. Below the low of the pre-market now, you also have a level here where you see a lot of support too. So right in here, you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 days bouncing off of this. Some of them gapped down pretty nice here and found support there as well. This one here as well, gap selling now and finding support at that 155.08. So if we can break down from this 156, that can be an area where we can find some support and hopefully take advantage of an opportunity. So that is Disney there, guys. Breaking down the low right now at 156. I am still going to keep this 156 here, guys, right? Because if you look to the left, look at this area here, right in here. What is that 156? It is amazing resistance and support right on there. So I'm not going to remove that. I'll add a new low of the pre-market if we don't get to 155. But this 156, I'm going to keep on there because we got a lot of backup support here and resistance on that 156.50. Here is Uber, guys. Again, not doing a whole. At least I'm noticing it now more often than we did before. But we'd love to see why that is. I'm assuming it has to do with something last night not being transacted with the earnings play and then them just posting the volume now. So again, weird stuff there. We'll figure it out. Here, high of the pre-market for Uber this morning is going to be 42.90. The low of the pre-market here is going to be 41.69. And then outside of that, towards the bottom, at least, you're pretty set, guys. Tons of stuff happening here. Highs and lows from the last 2 trading days, previous day close, you're set there. Towards the top, we can mark down 44, very clear level there. And Norm talked about this 45 being an issue for them, right? If you look at the daily, if you go back, that was around their IPO price. But 44, that is exactly what we got to yesterday, by the way. I think we hit right 44 on the earnings after hours, and we slammed right back down. No, no reason why that's happening there, right? Yeah, very clear level of resistance right on there. So we'll see what happens there. TWR Twitter, man, they're gonna go red after a nice pop up this morning. Looking to go red here, guys. 41.54 is the high of the pre-market. 39.62 got a great level of support right on here as well. So we'll definitely mark that there. But yeah, interesting action here on Twitter this morning. So low of the pre-market at 37 between the previous day close and the highs of the last 2 trading days in here. And then there's tons of levels on here. Besides the low of the pre-market, I'm not going to mark anything else. The low of the pre-market was very early on at 7. I assume when earnings came out, right here, you had the drop, then the recovery, and then just kind of losing it right back down to the previous day close. So Twitter is fun. We'll be keeping an eye out on that one. Here is Apple. Apple this morning, again, pretty much doing what the SPY is doing, right? So it's just kind of following the overall SPY right now, which continues to drop, which is interesting, right? Because you usually have the overreaction very early on. This candle, you always got to be very, very careful because I cannot tell you how many times we see this in earnings or in news breaks out. It does this and it can shoot right back up very aggressively. But here, the continuation, which is more important to me at least, right? This is what I want to see. It's not good, right? It's looking rather weak this morning, at least right now. So Apple's doing the same thing here, trying to hold 174 at the moment. That's your low of your pre-market. And once you put that level in place, I mean, just look around the price action. You're pretty much surrounded by levels, highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. But besides the last 2 trading days, all these days here are, confirming either a low or a high of the last 2 trading days. So do not need to add anything else here. Don't need to get fancy. One other level that I think could be good here is this 172. 172, 173 area. And if you draw something right on there, you can see clearly how much support, resistance, or days opening and closing around that level you have. So that's the only thing I would add. And really, Apple is smack in the middle of this area consolidation that we had over the last couple of days, right? So we're price action right in the middle of that right now. So pretty good stuff happening. Great pre-market activity as far as in volume and following what the overall SPY is doing here. Let me head down here. We have PTON next, which again, PTON, beautiful run the last couple of days. The hype has been able to keep up here on PTON. All right, I see some moderators coming in with their list. I see Peter there. Good. We'll get to that in a second. But here's PTON, guys. PTON down 3.4 this morning. Low of the pre-market 37.27. And then once you put that level on there, you're pretty much set. I mean, look towards the top, guys. The highs from the last 2 trading days creating a pretty good area of support and of resistance more than anything. On there, you got your previous day close, which obviously is a very important area. With that is 38.77. If we were to lose these levels here, which it could be a possibility today with things looking rather weak as of now, 34 could be a nice one, and all the way down here 32. Outside, I don't think you need to add anything else. You kind of got the steps coming down here. Pretty nice there. Snap, I like Snap. I like what it has done the last couple of days. I think it's been trading very well. Again, after a huge, I mean, just look at this action here. Gap down. I feel bad for the people that got stopped out here saying, man, this is not gonna go. And then next morning you get this huge pop to, it was like a $10 pop almost. It's just madness. So very nice there, guys. This morning, what do we have? We have low of the pre-market 38.31. Once we slam that 38.30 there, actually. Highs and lows from the last 2 trading days doing pretty good. Outside of this range, though, right? If we were to trade outside of this, towards the top, we're going to be looking at a 44.24 is a decent one. And then towards the bottom, you have something here around 32, right? So pretty clean levels on Snap right now. Decent volume, guys, 812,000, dropping a little bit here, down 4.7. Will be fun to watch this one today as well. So we are set, guys. As far as levels, we have TWLO, we have Disney, a couple of earnings play, at least on these 3 here, right? TWO earnings pre-market this morning, Disney last night, and Uber last night as well. So that's what we have going on there. Twitter was this morning. We'll see how that's going to play out. Up 1.1, trying to stay in the green territory. Apple following the SPY. PTON been doing some crazy pops that we would love to see some continuation on, whether up or down. Just overall volume and movement on PTON this morning. And we have Snap here also giving some back this morning. Excellent. Let's take a look at our moderators lineup. We'd love to see what they're watching today because there's a lot to watch this morning. I have way too many on my list. I'm going to be fine-tuning that as we get closer to that 9:30 time frame. I will definitely be bringing this down a little bit. So, guys, over on YouTube, if you haven't done so already, please hit that thumbs up. I'm going to resize this over here and make it pretty to bring over our moderators lineup. But if you can take the time to hit that thumbs up, we appreciate it very much. It does help us out a ton here. We're sitting at 148 likes. We'll love 250, 300. That is our sweet spot. All right, let's get to it, guys. So Eamon, not trading today. The sudden pump and dump, ruined all my watch list. So again, he has a specific criteria that he likes. This morning, that's not looking too good for the way he likes to trade. So showing a lot of discipline there, Eamon. Thank you. Peter, IPOs for today, just 2. His watch list, AMD, Disney, TWLO. Secondary list, Apple, Twitter, and Uber. And then Dima is looking at Disney, Twitter, AMD, and Apple. Thor is going to be looking at the SPY, which I think we all are. The SPY and the Qs, guys. Got to keep an eye on that, especially with the numbers that came out. AMD, Disney, Twitter. Secondary list, a couple of banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and JP Morgan. And KO, which has been a great investment stock, man. KO has been nice. We'll narrow the list closer to the open. Here's Jared. He's going to be looking at some notes there. He's going to be short the tech sector overall and long the financials. So there's a lot of tickets you can watch based on that there. Susan, you're looking at AMD, Disney, and Facebook. And Megan, you're looking at Twitter, Microsoft, PayPal. And here's Brian's list, JP Morgan, Twitter, MU, Roblox, and the TZA and TNA, or TZA, like he will say, this morning. So, all right, excellent, guys. I think we are all set to rock and roll. Again, very active morning, Norm. Anything that
for sure
that you have? I know you're not trading today, but anything that you see that can be potentially
No,
good?
I mean, just same thing that I mentioned earlier with that. I guess 10-year just hit 2%. First time since 2019. Market, obviously, it tried to bounce and that failed, down 1.5% on the SPY, 2% on the Qs. Not my favorite kind of day to trade anyway, so I'm not too hurt about it. But it's going to be volatile.
It sure is, guys. And the key thing is, again, risk management. We can't stress enough how important that is. You know, you have to have amazing risk management, especially on these type of days. You got to have great discipline. And look at Eamon put out there, you know, he's not trading today. This is not his type of market. And I'm sure he's not just he's not making that up, but he's not just doing that based on thin air. He probably has his history shows that, you know, on these days he doesn't do well. He doesn't make money well. So he's not going to trade today. So very, very important to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, especially on days like this. So SPY's moving down a little bit more here this morning. A lot of the stocks like Apple are following suit, and we'll keep a close eye on the Qs. All right, we got a little bit of time here, guys. Any questions we can answer? Anything that we can comment on for you guys that we might cover? That we think we're pretty much good here. Yeah, I think we're set, guys. Any insight on NEO and SoFi? What is NEO doing? What is the EVs? Oh, yeah, EVs dropping as well. NEO looks good. NEO looks good for this drop. But again, we have a lot of stocks that are doing this now, so you can watch your favorite stocks. But NEO does look good. SoFi, on a day like today, I probably wouldn't watch SoFi. Again, me personally, if you had some success with this stock, if you've been trading it, you're familiar with their price action, by all means, put that on your list, right? But I'll watch like an AMD, I'll watch like an Apple instead of SoFi today. But Jack, they both look very good, especially NEO. So yeah, you know, actually NEO will be a good one to have. Kind of see what I don't have anything EV on my list. I think I do not. So NEO will be a good one to keep on here. Just kind of keep things a little bit diverse as far as the sectors, right? So we'll see where that goes. What do we think about HRI for puts? You know what? I don't trade. I don't do options. But either way, this is something that we can answer in just 2 minutes. This is something that needs some real good in-depth and one of our experts like Artie or Jared to give you a feedback on. We really won't be able to touch on this. For me, all I see here is choppiness. But you know, if you're trading options, you can see something completely different. Like this is something I won't even look at, right? For what I'm doing. All right, excellent. We are all set. Let's see if any other. I think we have every moderator's list here together. We are good to go. Brian and Andrew are up next with some live trading. We had some really good trading last night, guys. If you missed it, over in Ed's room. So earnings today, he'll be doing the same thing. Make sure you take advantage of that, as we mentioned earlier. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun to see how he dissects things. And like Norm mentioned, he is amazing at catching these opportunities on earnings play. So looking forward to that as well today. All right, good. What is the SPY up to? What are we doing here? Still dropping a little bit. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right, guys. 9:13. It is Thursday today, right? Thursday. So have a great trading day. We will see you guys again tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow we do not start at 8 a.m. We start at 8:30 with Norm and myself. So tune in for that. Guys over on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please hit that thumbs up. We're sitting at 200. We'd love 50 more of you guys to move that finger. We appreciate it very, very much.
Some people have just come into the chat room asking why SPY is tanking. The CPI data came out hotter than expected this morning. Inflation, I believe, the year over year was 7.5%, which is huge. That's what it is.
Yeah, that is what's causing it there, guys. All right, excellent. Norm and I will head back to the chat room. Take care, guys. Stay safe over on YouTube. Again, thank you for joining us this morning and appreciate all the support there with all the likes. Thank you so much, guys. See you again tomorrow at 8:30. Take care.
Yeah, take care, guys. Trade safe.